Howdy, y'all! Welcome to another episode of Worst of the Wii, the series where I play and rank terrible Wii games to determine which game is truly the worst of the Wii. Also, sorry for the wait for this episode. I intended to get it out a long time ago, but I just kinda lost motivation to work on videos. I was also sick for about a month, which didn't help much either. But to reward you for your patience, I've decided to make the next Worst of the Wii a viewer suggestions episode. I'll be selecting 5 games to cover, so please leave as many suggestions as you want in the comments below. Please have mercy. Anyway, get your yees and haws ready, because these redneck games are sure to knock your teeth out. We've got Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree. We've got Calvin Tucker's Farm Animal Racing Tournament. We've got... Wait, that's it? There's only 2 of these things? Yes! So yeah, this one should be really quick and easy, or at least I think it will be. You never really know with these kinds of games, especially when your copy of Calvin Tucker's Redneck Racing or whatever has 3 return stickers on it. Like seriously, look, there's like a mountain of return stickers on the copy that I have. So yeah, this should be fun. And with that out of the way, let's get started with Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree. Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree is a 2008 party game published by Zoo Games, which later became Indie Pub before the company dissolved in 2013. While looking through their list of games, I came to the terrifying revelation that this is the same people that published Eminem's Beach Party and Eminem's Adventure. So that is the standard of quality we are dealing with here. The story of this game is that every year the folks of Redneck County compete in a series of games to decide which family gets to live in the big trailer. It's a serviceable story that gives context to the minigames, so that's pretty okay, I guess. Anyway, it is the minigames that we're really here for. So how are they? Absolutely terrible. Before I delve into the minigames, I need to clarify something. One of my main critiques of Eminem's Beach Party was that you could unlock everything in the game without having played a single minigame. However, Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree is the complete opposite extreme. There are 11 minigames in total, and 5 of them are unlocked with bottle caps. These bottle caps are awarded to you when you complete minigames, and you get more the better you perform. But the problem is these minigames can be absurdly expensive, and the number of bottle caps you get is minuscule. I played 6 awful minigames and received 14 bottle caps. How long did this process take? 20 minutes. Oh, and you need bottle caps to unlock the characters too. But I mean, the characters are just reskins of one another and don't change gameplay at all, so what's the point there? That being said, if I wanted to unlock every minigame, it would have taken several hours of playing the same few minigames over and over and over. And like I've said, the minigames aren't even fun or good. I was able to unlock the cheapest minigame before I got too irritated and needed to stop playing. So there are 4 minigames I won't be able to cover for this review. Sometimes you just need to cut your losses. So let's take a look at these minigames one by one. The first minigame is the obligatory shooting gallery every Wii Party game has, but this one barely works. There's very little feedback when you shoot the gun, and the blast radius is tiny. I think it's kinda cool that there's a combo system where your score multiplies every single time you hit something without missing, but I was only able to rack up a few at a time because the motion controls are very sensitive. And it doesn't help that the Wii Remote vibrates when you hit certain objects, which completely throws off the cursor. But the computer players seem to have no issues racking up points because, oh my god, look at that score difference. Between minigames, there is a betting game where you place a bottle cap on a grid, and if the cow lands on your space, you get extra points. In my hour and a half or so of playtime, I didn't win this minigame once. But at least you have the option to turn it off if you don't feel like playing it with your friends who are also playing Calvin Tucker's Farm Animal, no, wrong game. Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree. If you have friends that are playing this with you and nobody wants to do a game of chance, you don't have to. The next minigame is the fishing game. You throw a stick of dynamite into a pond and try to blow up the fish. This minigame is painfully slow, and a lot of the time the dynamite doesn't hit the fish, even though it looks like it should have. Sometimes the fish will just swim away, and because there's so much delay between the time you throw the dynamite and the thing actually exploding, there's a good chance that you'll just miss. But again, the CPUs are doing just fine. You don't even get to see them play the minigames. They're just given a random amount of points after each round. Like, come on. Next up, we have lawnmower racing, even though you aren't actually racing anyone because the CPUs don't actually play the games. What makes this game so awful is that you don't have free movement, so once you begin a turn, you have to complete that turn before turning again. So like, you can't correct yourself, so you'll be constantly hitting obstacles and slowing down to a crawl. And you don't even have invincibility when you start up again, meaning if you are placed in front of another object after being hit, you just get hit again. Plus, the game forces you to tilt the Wii Remote, so the expected shovelware sensitivity issues are here too. There were multiple times where the game turned me in the complete wrong direction and then crashed me into an obstacle. It's not good. But this next minigame though is actually pretty decent. You really need to use the bathroom in the dead of the night, so you gotta go find the outhouse. At times your flashlight will run out of battery, so you need to shake the controller to get it working again. Sometimes an animal will jump scare you, and if this happens, your P meter will deplete. Yes, the P meter. If the P meter depletes, then, well...
time to take a piss.
This minigame reminds me a lot of Slender Man, which is actually kind of funny. Although the atmosphere is completely ruined by this awful banjo loop. But yeah, this was easily my favorite minigame of the bunch. This next game though, what the heck is happening here? God, I just need to take a moment to express how hideous this game looks. Not just this dude, but like in general, it's hideous. Anyway, this minigame tasks you with opening bottles before breaking this dude's teeth. Out of all the minigames in this collection, this one was definitely the most confusing. And I honestly don't really fully understand how the game works. So you start by shaking the nunchuck, and then you need to point the Wii Remote where you want to like open the bottle, like which part of the mouth you want to open the bottle at. But like there's no cursor, and like the Wii Remote, like you gotta like, I'm trying to describe this and like make the motions, and it's not making any sense. But yeah, the bottle moves on like a horizontal path, but like the pointing motion doesn't really work in the way you'd expect it to, and like the bottle just kind of like teleports around. Like I don't understand how to describe this game. And sometimes the bottle doesn't even load either, so like this is the weirdest, jankiest minigame. I just ended up like not even trying. I just kept opening the bottles, and if the dude broke his teeth, I'm like, whatever, it's fine. They were probably fake anyway. The next game is kind of alright though. Like it's horseshoes, it's exactly what you would expect. So you basically just do like a throwing motion with the Wii Remote and hope to God that it reads your motion correctly, which this game doesn't really do a lot of the time, but yeah, that's it. Next, so woodcutting was the first minigame I unlocked, and also the last one I played. This one's a lot of shaking, but it's not just shaking though. You also need to use the control stick on the nunchuck to change the angle of the saw by lining everything up on the meter. And that's all there is to it. It's not the best minigame, but it's definitely not the worst of the bunch. Like it's fine. It's fine. It's not fun. It's fine. So those were the minigames. Based on what I played, I can confidently say I'm not missing out on the 4 I didn't unlock. Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree expects so much from the player. Unlocking everything will take a few hours of grinding through the same lackluster minigames. If you want people to unlock everything by replaying the same content over and over again, the content needs to be fun. But nothing in this game is fun. Aside from maybe the piss game. I had a little fun with the piss game, but everything else is bad, boring, stiff, bland, uninspired, unintuitive, unfun. Just give me all of the content from the start if you aren't even going to bother to make it good. But as it stands now, Calvin Tucker is not worth the time he's asking for.
If you look really closely, you can see that the game was $4.99, but then somebody returned it to GameStop, and then it became $6.99. So this game is only increasing in value over time. How amazing is that?
Calvin Tucker's Farm Animal Racing Tournament, or F.A.R.T for short, is hands down the most competent game I've played for worst of the Wii. It feels like an actual, honest-to-God racing game. Sometimes. Although I'm not actually sure what the title is supposed to be. On the box art, it says Farm Animal Racing Tournament, but in game it's just called Farm Animal Racing. But one of the courses is called F.A.R.T HQ, so maybe they just forgot to alter the in-game logo at one point in development. I'm just gonna call it Calvin Tucker's F.A.R.T though, cause that's a good name. Calvin Tucker's F.A.R.T is basically Redneck Mario Kart. You play as a bunch of animals and race across farms, trailer parks, pirate beaches, medieval castles, desert pyramids, snowy mountains with Moai statues all over the place. Yeah, there is no thematic consistency with the courses. The gameplay is also what you'd expect from a kart racer. Various items to use, different characters with varying stats, even though the stats aren't actually shown to you at all. You know, if you're gonna make characters have different stats, you should probably communicate those stats to the player. But, oh well. Different special moves, some weird strafe thing you can do with the car to ram into other cars. Oh yeah, and motion controls. I feel like that should be a given at this point. I mean, all these games are on the Wii. I'd be more surprised if I covered a game that doesn't use them. But honestly, I really like the conspiracy angle this game has. Like, there's one racetrack that takes place during an alien invasion, and one of the characters has a UFO for their special move. It's absurd in a good way. And you can tell that there maybe was, at one point in development, an actual vision for this game. As crazy as that sounds. The humor feels a lot less forced in Calvin Tucker's F.A.R.T than in Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree. Like, this course right here is named the Pirate Bay, and it's described as an illegal race. But we're only hosting. Imagine being the owner of one of the biggest piracy websites ever and being called out by Calvin Tucker's Farm Animal Racing Tournament. And this is by far the best looking and performing game I've covered for worst of the Wii. Like, look at this game in motion and compare it to something like Eminem's Kart Racing. It's incredible how competent Calvin Tucker's F.A.R.T is. I've been surprisingly pretty positive on this game so far. But even with the minimal praise I've given it, Calvin Tucker's F.A.R.T still has a few issues holding it in. The biggest problem is how awful the rubber banding is. Rubber banding in racing games is basically when the computer players adjust their speed based on your position. So basically, if you are really far ahead, the CPUs will move faster to catch up. But if you're really far behind, they'll slow down to give you a chance to catch up. Like, I never really felt like I had a safety net in this game because I could get past it any second because the rubber banding is legitimately awful. The courses are also pretty bland. I do like some of the theming, but the layouts aren't great and mostly consist of straightaways. Each course is 2 laps, but they are so long to the point where it feels exhausting. And there are only 6 courses in this game. Well, I mean, there's technically 12, but the game pads out content by including reverse versions of the courses, and there is hardly any difference. Some of the courses also have some really irritating parts, like the desert course with the inside of the pyramid that's really cramped, or the castle course where there's acorns falling from trees that are almost impossible to avoid. And getting hit by anything is incredibly frustrating. Whenever you get hit by something, you'll either fly into a wall or be spun around and need to reorientate yourself. It completely kills the pace of the game, and it can be really difficult to turn around sometimes too. There were even times where my character was hit by something before the race even began. come on. This game is also horribly unbalanced. Each character has a different special that can be used after collecting horseshoes, but some of these specials are way better than others, and some of the good ones take less horseshoes to activate. Billy Slick here has a special that gives him a massive speed boost that also doubles as an attack at the comparatively low cost of 6 horseshoes. He is absolutely busted and was my go-to choice for most of my playtime. Calvin Tucker's fart can also be pretty glitchy. Here's a clip from the first race I recorded for this video. Yep, most of the time it's pretty fine, but stuff like this happens every so often. But even with these issues, I didn't actually hate this game. Like, it has a few redeeming qualities, and it almost feels like an actual video game someone would play. It's fast, there's a few good jokes, and I was able to 100% complete it fairly easily. It's still not a great game, but compared to the other kart racers I've played, it's pretty decent. It's also available on Steam, apparently. So you have no excuse not to check this game out for yourself. And hopefully it works, because the Steam version might be a bit buggy. And now it's time to put the Calvin Tucker duology on the wall of shame. Starting with Calvin Tucker's Redneck Jamboree, I'd say it belongs right under Mythmaker's Orbs of Doom at the bottom of the frustratingly terrible tier. Most of the minigames aren't even remotely fun, and you are forced to repeatedly play these awful games to unlock even more awful games. It's a massive waste of time, but I will say the piss game is decent overall. But that's the only bright spot on this poop-stained toilet bowl of inexperience. On the other hand, Calvin Tucker's Fart is the closest thing to an actual functioning video game I've played for this series. I don't think it actually deserves to be in the somewhat decent tier though, but I will put it at the bottom of bad and boring. I can see the potential and genuinely like the weird conspiracy stuff and some of the humor, but there are far too many gameplay and design issues for me to comfortably say it's decent. But then again, when am I ever going to get another chance to put a game in the somewhat decent tier? Am I judging a game's decency compared to good games or to other games on this list? Am I even going to find a decent shovelware game? Aren't all shovelware games, well, bad? You know what? I'm just gonna change the name of the tier. There we go. Yeah, I think that works. Congratulations, Calvin Tucker. Did one decent game. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode of Worst of the Wii. If you have a game you want me to check out for this series, please leave a comment below with your suggested game and I might end up featuring it in the next video. Anyway, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being patient with this series, because it takes me a long time to make videos, but hopefully it was good. Anyway, thank you. Have a good day.